You think you know the Bible, stories of heroes, miracles, faith. But what if I told you there's a story so strange, so wild, that it's been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years? A story about giants, not fairy tales but real beings called the Nephilim. We've never seen them. We don't talk about them much in Sunday school. Yet, their story is written in the Bible, whispered in ancient texts, and buried beneath layers of mystery and silence. What if these giants were more than just giants? What if they held secrets that could change how we see history, humanity, and even our place in the universe? Over the next few minutes, I'll take you deep into 5 Bible stories about the Nephilim, stories full of wonder, fear, and forbidden knowledge. Stay with me because by the end, you might never look at the Bible, or the world, the same way again. Tale 1: The Watchers Descend. Forbidden Unions and the Birth of Giants. Our story begins before the flood, in the days when heaven and earth were closer than they are today. Genesis chapter 6 tells us something extraordinary happened. Something that would shake the foundations of creation itself. The Bible speaks of the sons of God, beings that ancient Jewish scholars identified as angels, specifically a group called the Watchers. Their mission was simple: watch over humanity, guide and protect. But something went terribly wrong. The book of Enoch, referenced by Jude in the New Testament, fills in the shocking details. These Watchers, led by one called Simjaza, made a pact. A cosmic conspiracy that would change everything. They chose to abandon their heavenly posts and take human wives for themselves. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Genesis 6 verse 2. The result was unlike anything the world had ever seen. The offspring of these unions were called Nephilim, literally, the fallen ones in Hebrew. But these weren't ordinary children. They were giants, beings of incredible strength, supernatural knowledge, and according to ancient texts, an insatiable appetite for violence and corruption. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Genesis 6 verse 4. But here's what's chilling: they weren't just physically different. According to the book of Enoch, these Watchers taught humanity forbidden knowledge: warfare, cosmetics, metallurgy, astrology, and sorcery. Knowledge that was never meant for mortal minds. What if this cosmic rebellion was the true spark that ignited a spiritual war unseen by human eyes? How far did these fallen beings influence the world? And more importantly, are their fingerprints still visible in our world today? Tale 2: The Giant War. Israel's battle with the Nephilim. Fast forward several centuries after the flood. The Israelites stand on the brink of the promised land, but what they discover there defies everything they thought they knew about God's promise. Moses sends 12 spies to scout the land of Canaan. They return with incredible fruit, grapes so large it takes 2 men to carry a single cluster. But they also return with terror in their eyes. We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes and we looked the same to them. Numbers 13:33. The Nephilim had survived the flood. Their bloodline had endured, and now they occupied the very land God had promised to his people. But these weren't just tall people. The Bible gives us specific details that are almost unbelievable. King Og of Bashan. His iron bed was over 13 feet long and 6 feet wide. Goliath of Gath stood over 9 feet tall, his armor alone weighing 125 pounds. But it wasn't just their size that terrified Israel. Ancient texts describe their supernatural strength, their advanced knowledge of warfare, and their seemingly invincible cities. The Anakim, the Rephaim, the Emim, different tribes, all descended from the Nephilim, all controlling strategic territories throughout the ancient world. Here's what's remarkable: God didn't just tell Israel to avoid these giants. He commanded them to completely destroy them. But you must destroy them totally. Make no treaty with them and show them no mercy. Deuteronomy 7 verse 2. How did these giant warriors hold sway over entire lands for centuries? What was God's plan to confront them? And why was their complete elimination so crucial to his purposes? Tale 3: The Days of Noah. Corruption, judgment, and the Great Flood. To understand why the flood was necessary, we need to go back to the beginning of our story. The Nephilim weren't just giants. They were a corruption of God's created order. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Genesis 6 verse 5. But this wasn't ordinary human wickedness. According to ancient Jewish understanding, the Nephilim and their influence had corrupted the very genetic code of humanity. The book of Enoch describes a world where these giants consumed everything. First the fruits of men's labor, then animals, and finally turning to cannibalism, consuming humans themselves. Violence filled the earth, but it was a supernatural violence, one that threatened to completely corrupt the human bloodline through which the Messiah would come. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. Genesis 6 verses 8 to 9. The Hebrew text uses a fascinating phrase here. Noah was perfect in his generations. Some scholars interpret this not just as moral perfection, but genetic purity. His bloodline remained uncorrupted by Nephilim influence. I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens, every creature that has the breath of life in it. Everything on earth will perish. Genesis 6 verse 17. The flood wasn't just punishment, it was a cosmic reset. A cleansing of creation itself from hybrid beings that were never meant to exist. But here's the mystery that haunts this story. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. How did the Nephilim bloodline survive a global flood that destroyed all flesh? Some scholars suggest it came through the wives of Noah's sons. Others point to a second incursion of fallen angels after the flood. Could the flood have been more than punishment, a cosmic reset to stop something far darker from spreading? And if the Nephilim survived, what does that mean for our world today? Tale 4, The Abyss Awaits. Bound Watchers and Future Judgment. The story of the Watchers doesn't end with the flood. In fact, according to the New Testament, their judgment was only the beginning. And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority but abandoned their proper dwelling, these he has kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. Jude 1 verse 6. The Apostle Peter confirms this cosmic imprisonment. God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. 2 Peter 2 verse 4. But here's where the story becomes prophetic. The book of Revelation speaks of a time when these bound entities will be released. They had as king over them the angel of the abyss, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek is Apollyon, that is, destroyer. Revelation 9 verse 11. Ancient Jewish texts are even more specific. The book of Enoch describes these imprisoned watchers awaiting their final release in the end times, not just as spiritual beings, but with the power to once again corrupt the physical world. What if the signs and wonders that Jesus warned would deceive even the elect aren't just supernatural displays, but the return of forbidden knowledge? The same knowledge these watchers taught humanity before the flood? Daniel's prophecy speaks of a final kingdom that's an unstable mixture, iron mixed with clay, that will not hold together. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united, any more than iron mixes with clay. Daniel 2 verse 43. Some scholars interpret this as a reference to humanity being mixed with something else, perhaps the return of hybrid beings in the last days. What if the Nephilim story isn't just history but prophecy? Are we on the brink of witnessing a return of these ancient powers? And are the days of Noah, that Jesus warned about, closer than we think? Tale 5, Iron and Clay. The Nephilim's legacy in modern times. Throughout history, humanity has left behind structures that defy explanation. Massive stone blocks, precisely cut and positioned, that would challenge our modern technology. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek contains stones weighing over 800 tons. Sacsayhuaman in Peru features blocks fitted so precisely that you can't slide a piece of paper between them. Ancient astronaut theorists say aliens. But what if the answer is in the Bible? What if these monuments are the fingerprints of the Nephilim, beings with both supernatural knowledge and superhuman strength? The Book of Enoch specifically mentions that the fallen watchers taught humanity advanced metallurgy, astronomy, and construction techniques. Every ancient culture has legends of giants. The Titans of Greece, the Jotuns of Scandinavia, the Quinametsin of Mexico. Remarkably similar stories from civilizations that never contacted each other. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man, Matthew 24 verse 37. Jesus himself warned that the end times would mirror the days of Noah. But what exactly did he mean? Today we stand at the threshold of technologies that could fundamentally alter human nature. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, the merging of human and machine. Are we witnessing the return of forbidden knowledge? The same desire to transcend human limitations that drove the original rebellion? Some researchers point to ancient bloodlines, families that have maintained power for millennia, possibly carrying the genetic legacy of the Nephilim. They point to symbols, architecture, and rituals that seem to echo the forbidden knowledge of the Watchers. Are these tales just ancient legends, or is there a hidden lineage walking among us right now, shaping the world's destiny? Are we living in the days of Noah, standing on the brink of another cosmic judgment? The story of the Nephilim challenges us to see the Bible not just as a collection of moral lessons, but as a cosmic drama, a battle between good and evil that spans from the dawn of creation to the end of time. Whether you see these accounts as literal history or symbolic truth, one thing is clear: they point us to humanity's need for a savior. Someone who could bridge the gap between heaven and earth in the right way. The giants may have been destroyed, the watchers may be bound, but the questions they raise about human nature, divine justice, and our ultimate destiny remain as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. What do you think? Are the Nephilim just ancient mythology, or do their stories hold deeper truths about our world today? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the Bible's most mysterious passages. Until next time, keep searching the scriptures. You never know what hidden truths you might discover.